I took the night shift because I needed money fast, and because the hiring manager said the warehouse was calm after midnight. Like a sleeping beast, nothing to worry about. The first night proved her half right. It was like a beast. It only pretended to sleep. I clocked in at 11:47 p.m. The building sat alone behind a dead mall. 5 loading docks, like closed mouths. 1 yellow light buzzing over the side door. Inside, the air smelled like dust, cold plastic, and something sharp, like coins rubbed together. The floors were so clean I could see my face in them, stretched and tired. The manager, Ms. Gray, gave me a badge, a radio, and a laminated card of simple rules. She smiled without showing teeth and tapped the card with one finger. Read them, follow them. If anything feels wrong, it is. Then she left. The card said, if a forklift drives by with nobody on it, do not stand in its path, do not greet it, let it pass. Camera 6 faces the side door. If someone waves on camera 6 after 1 a.m., wave back, but do not open the door. Aisle 9, Bay 23 has a mirror. Do not look into the mirror after 2 a.m. If you hear whistling that matches a song you know, it is not for you. If the clock on your radio shows to 22 for longer than 1 minute, press and hold the reset button and keep your eyes on the floor until the time changes. If a box breathes, do not touch it. Below the rules was a handwritten note, keep the lights at 70%, never 100%. Someone had drawn a small smiley face next to it, then scratched it out at 12:01. A cardboard box on aisle 4, Bay 7, breathed. It was a slow rise and fall under the packing tape, like air caught inside a sleeping chest. I stood, very still. My radio whispered static, then quiet. I could hear the box exhale. Tape wrinkled as if it had skin. I took 1 step back, then another, and I read rule number 6 again until my mouth stopped shaking. Calm after midnight, I told myself, calm and easy. I started a slow patrol. The aisles were tall, like thin canyons, shelves stacked with returns and overstock. Some labels I understood, toys, appliances, seasonal. Some felt wrong, unsorted echoes, hold, customer forgot. And my favorite one to avoid, a section behind a yellow chain labeled D13 in red paint. It wasn't on the printed map. Someone had added it in pen dot. Around 12:20, the building hummed. It was not the normal electric hum of lights. It was lower, older, like a refrigerator that learned to sing. My radio crackled again and showed the time 12:21. Then 12:20, then 12:21. I pressed the reset button just to feel brave. At 12:33, a man's voice came over the intercom, even though I hadn't seen anyone near the office. Night check, it said. Report. I held my radio. This is our new guard. All clear. Good, the voice said. If you pass aisle 9 after 2, keep your eyes straight. You want to go home. The office window was dark. No light, no movement. I told myself the manager was watching from her car. I told myself a lot of things that first hour. At 1:02, camera 6 showed a figure at the side door. He wore a security vest like mine, and he was waving. His face was flat and bright on the black and white screen, like a photograph of a man and not a man. He waved with his left hand, then with his right, then both hands at once, too smooth. Rule number 2 said to wave back, so I lifted my hand to the camera above me and gave him a small wave. On the screen, he stopped moving. He put his hands down and stood still like a post. He did not knock. He did not leave. He simply paused, as if waiting for the next instruction. I did not open the door. At 1:15, I met Raza. He stepped out from between tall pallets like a ghost, but he smiled with his eyes and showed me his badge. "Old guard," he said softly. "Started here 3 months ago. Only at night. Your first night," I said. He nodded once, like I had told him a date he expected. "Then hear me. The rules are real, but they are not full. If a box breathes, don't touch it. Yes. Also, don't speak to it. It makes a box think it is a person." I almost laughed, but his face stayed serious and kind. He had a short beard and tired shoulders. "Who was on camera 6? He asked. "Looked like me," I said. "A little." "That is common," he said. "It copies posture. It learns the uniforms. Wave back, and it keeps the door closed. Don't wave, and well." "Last winter, we had a draft." "A draft?" I asked. He smiled only with his mouth. "You want to go home," he said, and then his smile fell. "Do not go near D13. If you hear someone you love from there, keep walking." I felt something tight in my chest. "Why would I hear that?" I asked. "Because the warehouse handles returns," he said. "Not only items." He left me on that sentence. At 1:40, I did a second patrol. The breathing box was quiet. The humming sound held under the lights like a big cat in the dark, just low enough to ignore, just loud enough to keep me from forgetting. I passed the break room where the vending machine sold stale chips, and someone had taped over the glass with paper so you couldn't see your face at 1:58. I took the long route around aisle 9 to avoid the mirror. My feet still took me there. The mirror was full length and cheap, the kind you put on a locker, stuck to the end of a shelf with foam tape. It reflected the aisle behind me, the grey floor, the soft yellow light. My head turned a little, almost like a magnet was in my neck. I remembered Rule 3. I kept my eyes on my shoes and counted the breaths in my mask. I didn't look, but I felt the mirror looking at me. The glass felt aware, like a closed eye that decided to open. At 2:02, the intercom clicked. "Hold. Your route," the man's voice said. "Reset at 2:22. "Copy," I said, though I didn't know what reset meant. I checked my radio. 2:03. The numbers seemed fine. At 2:11, I heard whistling. The tune was a lullaby my mother sang when I was little. My heart stung like a hot needle. The sound came from the cold part of the building, where the air smelled like old snow. I followed without meaning to, like a string pulled me. The yellow chain marked D13 hung slack, as if someone had opened it for me without touching it. Beyond the chain, the shelves were different. Older, wood, not metal. The labels were handwritten, names misplaced, days returned, promises unpaid. The boxes here were not dusty. They looked handled. They looked loved, Amy, I said, very small. The whistling stopped. The silence after it felt like everything in the world paused to listen for my next word. I felt the rules in my pocket like a hot stone, and I shoved the paper back down before the corners burned my fingers. I took one step into D13. "Do not," Raza said softly from behind me. I turned. He stood at the chain, face pale, eyes wet. He shook his head once. "If you go in, it will cut a piece of you off so you fit on a shelf. They always do. That is how the warehouse keeps things neat." "What is this place?" I whispered. He swallowed. "People bring things they no longer want to carry, or the world drops them. The company buys them. We store them. That is all. But my mother, if you open a box that sings your mother's song, the song will stop once you touch it, he said. You will go quiet in the same way, and you won't know what you lost until it is too late. Behind him, something moved in the stacked shadows, slow and patient. It was not a person. It was the shape a shadow makes when it chooses to be a person. Long, narrow, wearing a reflective vest that caught light and did nothing with it. Raza, I said. I know, he said. His voice broke. It walks more often lately. The radio on my shoulder buzzed. 222. The numbers turned, then stopped, then refused to change. Rule 5 said to hold reset and look at the floor. I pressed the button and kept my eyes on my boots. In the dark part of my vision, the reflective vest leaned closer. I smelled cold plastic and coins again, stronger now, like the air was rubbing itself together in fear. Don't look up, Raza said. Count backward, from what I asked through my teeth. The year you were born, I did. As I counted, the hum deepened until my bones felt like they were singing. My radio clicked, and the time rolled to 2:23 as clean as a smooth stone. Dropped into water. The air loosened. The vest moved away. The coins stopped rubbing. The shadow decided to be a shadow again. When I looked up, Raza was gone. I stood at the chain alone. My breath showed white for a moment and then vanished. I wanted to call his name. I wanted to run. I did neither. I backed away slowly and returned to the main aisles where the light felt warmer and the labels made sense again at 2:40. The forklift drove itself past me, steady and polite. It carried nothing, but its forks were not empty. The space between them had weight, like it held a thing that didn't want to be seen. I stood against the shelf and watched it go, and I did not greet it. At 3:01, the intercom clicked, then hissed. Reset protocol, the voice said. Zone 9, Zone 3, office, dock. Copy, I said, because my mouth thought that was safe. I went to Zone 9 first. The mirror waited. The glass was darker now, tinted like night water. I kept my eyes on the floor and found a small red button at knee height, half hidden by a cable. I pressed it. Somewhere above, a relay clicked. The hum shifted, like someone turned in their sleep. Zone 3 had a similar button. So did the office. When I reached the office, I saw someone inside through the window my own back. My own head bent over the desk, writing something on a clipboard. The writing me lifted his hand and scratched a note next to 222 reset, and the pen left a line that looked like a heartbeat on a hospital monitor. My skin crawled. I pressed the office button and didn't look again. The dock area was colder. A bell hung by dock 3, a brass bell like a school bell. A string dangled. From it with a paper tag for safe passage. I touched the string. My radio clicked, and the intercom voice, gentle now, said, "Ring once." I rang it once. The sound was bright and square. It did not echo. It just sat in the air like a box you could set on a shelf. Behind me, a pallet. Shivered, the breathing box's cousin, I thought. The tag on the pallet read memory. Unclaimed 1 unit. It was open a little, like a mouth about to speak. Inside the gap, I saw a corner of an old photograph. It was the beach from my childhood. I could smell the salt. My throat hurt in a new way, like something pulled a string tied around my heart. Do not touch personal claims, I told myself. I stepped back. I turned away. Then I heard the whistling again, softer, kinder, the lullaby that had carried me through fevers and bad dreams. The song came from behind the yellow chain again. It knew my name. It knew my steps. The warehouse hummed, and the hum seemed to lean toward the song, like the building itself wanted to listen with me. I did something that was not in the rules. I took my radio off, set it gently on a crate, and walked to the edge of D13. I did not cross the chain. I did not speak my mother's name. I put my hand on the post, closed my eyes, and I hummed the lullaby back, a small, shaking sound, like a penny dropped in a bucket. The whistling paused. The air held its breath. The hum of the warehouse softened, and settled, like a huge chest sinking into a deep sleep. The reflective vest in the corner remained only cloth. The cold air warmed by 1 degree, no more. The photograph inside the pallet lost its shine and became only paper. Far away, a forklift sighed, the way a machine does when it knows it is not needed. I opened my eyes. The chain still hung between me and the shelves. The labels still read what they read. The song did not come again. My heart slowed. I picked up my radio. The intercom clicked. "Good," said the voice, as if it had seen everything. "You will make it to dawn." I checked the clock. 3:33. Time moved like normal again. I walked my route. I kept the lights at 70%. I waved at camera 6 when the not quite me lifted both hands at once. I avoided the mirror. I did not speak to the boxers. At 5:59, the warehouse windows were still black. At 6 o'clock, the windows were still black. At 6:01, the windows were still black, and the yellow over the side door buzzed louder, almost angry. Ms. Gray returned at 6:12 as a midnight river. "How was your first night?" she asked, hanging her coat like the air was not heavy and strange. "Quiet," I said, and my voice surprised me. It sounded older. It sounded used. "You followed the rules," she said. "That helps." She took my badge to write my name on a form. Her pen paused. She said, light as a feather. "The ink keeps sliding off your last name." She wrote it again, slower. The letters held this time, but they looked tired, as if they had stayed up all night. I handed back the laminated card. On the back, in someone's cramped handwriting, a new line had appeared under the rules. 7. Do not bring your losses to work. The shelves are hungry. I didn't remember writing that, but the pen mark on my finger said I could have. "See you tonight?" Ms. Gray asked. I wanted to say no. I wanted to say I had found a different job, a daylight job, a human job with no humming and no mirrors and no shelves that knew how to want. But my mouth made a small shape and said, yes. The word left my lips like a receipt, printed and warm. I walked out into the morning that was not light. The sky over the dead mall was pale steel, not sunrise. The world looked like a photograph taken just before the flash. I sat in my car and put my head on the wheel. My radio, still on my shoulder, clicked once, then went quiet. I turned it off and heard the echo of the bell I had rung, a bright square sound living in my ears. I went home and slept, and my dreams were aisles with no numbers and doors that didn't open, and my mother's song, soft and small, like a bird trying not to wake a house. I am writing this now because new guards always ask the same questions, and because I need to put the answers somewhere outside my own head. If you take the night shift at that strange warehouse, Keep your eyes down at 222. Do not stand in front of a polite forklift. Do not look in the mirror after 2. Wave at the door if it waves at you. Keep the lights at 70%. Most of all, if you hear your name from the cold section, keep walking. It is not your name anymore. The warehouse keeps what we return, and it is very, very good at making us return the things we swore we would never let go.